Let's do this. Alright, today I want to talk to you all about story selling, right? This is the concept of getting attention and turning it into money. Just before we start, I'm Seth. Over the past 2 years, I've helped generate over 7 figures in revenue, all from organic inbound content, helping people grow their personal brand, get attention onto themselves, and basically sell an offer that is a productized version of themselves. You know, selling a skill that you have, coaching, whether it's delivered in an agency way, anything like that, right? That's what we're going to be doing today. And I want to run you guys through the process of really what story selling is, how are you going to use stories to sell, why story selling is so good, and actually the kind of framework of how we're going to do it as well. At the end, I'll open it up into Q&As, as you said. I'll probably talk for 20 or 30 minutes. I won't keep it too long, but that's kind of what I want to get into. The first thing I want to get into really is like, okay, what is story, right? You might have heard some people talk about storytelling, story selling, whatever on social media, or you may not have, right? Most of the people who talk about storytelling make it way more complicated than it needs to be. Right? One of the reasons why stories work so well is because whether you know it or not, every single one of us here thinks in stories. The way we communicate, the way we dream is always in stories. We go to the cinema, we spend 2 hours watching a story. Everything we do is in stories. Stories keep us focused. So that's the reasons why stories work so well. And again, we know they're so fucking powerful. The reason, so everyone makes stories more complicated than it needs to be, and I'm going to show you all the story is, right? So I'm going to go through this first, and it's just going to make everything that we're going to speak about today way easier. All the story is change. That's it. All the story is change. If you look at the purpose of good marketing, the purpose of good marketing is to get change. You sell a product, you're trying to help someone change. You are selling a product to have someone change, whether they haven't bought the product or they have bought a product. The intention is always change. Same thing with sales, same thing with story. Story equals change, and then we'll add in there as well. Story equals change, marketing equals change, marketing equals story. So if you want to make money, learn how to tell a fucking good story. Then you can speak to anyone and move them to exactly where you want to go. That's what we're going to be speaking about today. I know some of you are setters, some of you are running your own personal brands, content, whatever it is. Even this goes down to even the way you speak to someone one-to-one, right? It's always going to be communicating in stories. So the first thing to understand before you can actually even get into the framework that you can use stories to sell, you need to understand what I call the macro story. So what's the plot of the story that you're trying to get someone to buy into? The reason why we tell stories is, again, to have someone completely understand the emotion and the logic behind the decisions that they're making. We are trying to get people to make decisions so that we can help them change. All right, if you're not trying to help someone change, you're trying to sell them something, don't listen to this, don't use this, I don't want to help you, right? Please, if you're trying to help people change, use this, and the perfect way to do this is, first of all, build your macro story. The best stories are always built up of the ones that have characters and settings. This is kind of weird, I know how did Jack do it where he was drawing on the board and...
He was at the side.
Was it the side?
Yeah.
Like this shit? Fucking... I feel kind of weird with my leg up like that. It's a bit gay. Alright, I'm going to draw and then I'll just come back into it. Alright. So we've got 2 groups. Great stories, characters and settings. The people and where they are, basically. We only have 3 on each to keep it really simple. The characters that we have is the hero, the guide, and the villain. And the settings that we have is current, hell, heaven. This is it. The characters that we have are the hero, the guide, the villain. The settings that we have is the current, the hell, and heaven. The reason why we need to understand this first is this is going to help us build the entire world of the stories that we tell. Every single story that we tell needs to fit into this. This really helps you kind of structure almost your offer. The entire, the biggest belief shift that you want to get people to buy into is going to come from this. The biggest thing that people get wrong, and the biggest thing that I see people miss out with their content and also when they're telling stories to try and change people's perspectives, is that they put themselves as the hero. You might think, it's my personal brand, it's my content, I'm going to put myself as the hero. It's the biggest mistake you can make, because no one cares about you, they only care about themselves. So how can we speak to people in a way that they want to listen because of what they are going to get out of it? How can we make them really want to buy into this, because they will lose something if they don't watch our video or listen to our story. This is where we need to position you as the guide. The story that you've been on as the guide is the same as the hero, but now you've almost graduated and become the guide. So let me run through what that story looks like. The hero is in their current situation, going around everyday life. They have this thing that they want. They have these pains. They have the struggle, just like everyone else. The hero wants to get to heaven, of course. Everyone wants to get to heaven. Heaven is the dream outcome, if you want to put it like that, right? But right now, the hero is following what the villain is saying, the enemy, right? And the villain is taking them down to hell. You, as the guide, have been in the exact same situation the hero has been. But you, as the guide, have figured a way out. So you were being fought by the villain to be taken to hell, but you figured out a way to get to heaven. And that is it. That is all that you need to understand so that you can be the one that stops the hero going to hell and instead you can take them to heaven. That is the purpose of story selling, where we can just make our hero feel so understood that the guide is the one that is taking them to heaven.
So you're saying you have to act in those characters, or those characters are the viewers?
The only character that you'll ever play is the guide. In the cell situation, the only character that you ever play is the guide. Right? If you really want to go kind of deep into this as well, the position that you need to have here is all of you, as the guide, selling something, you need to be the authentic authority. Done by two ways. You need to make the hero feel that you know exactly what it's like when you're in their situation. You need to connect to them on what they were going through when they were having this battle, right? Where they currently are, they're trying to get to heaven, but having this battle with hell, it's horrible. That's where all their pains points come from. That's where all the stresses come from. All of that stuff. You need to make them know that you know exactly what it's like. Otherwise, you're going to be like every other guru telling, oh, do this, do this, do this, you're a pussy if you don't, fuck you. Like, that's kind of what the guru energy is like. To be a true leader, to be a fucking guide is going to move someone, help them change their life. You need to be authentic first so they can connect to you. The other part of that is obviously being an authority. We're not going to trust someone if they're not where we want to be. The best way to do this, lead by example. Be who you are and show who you are and do that, and that's it. Lead by fucking example. Because the last principle I leave you before we actually get into the framework, sorry. Does anyone have any questions? Is anyone unclear on what any of this means and how it plays? Perfect.
Should heaven be very specific, or can heaven be like multiple different settings? If that makes sense.
Give me an example. What are you thinking of?
So, for example, heaven could does heaven have multiple features, or should heaven have like one clear
Desired
feature?
outcome.
Like yeah. That's I guess what
What'd you say?
Like a desired outcome.
Could there be multiple desired outcomes in heaven, or is it just one desired outcome?
I like to look at heaven as if it was a lifestyle.
A lifestyle, so
Yeah.
multiple.
Yeah.
They're encompassing.
How these things come together. Yeah. So what changes? It's not just like, okay, cool, yeah, you're going to be X amount of money. It's like, no. How are you going to walk different? How are you going to see the world? How are you going to really look different? Like, it's the entire lifestyle. That's why if we can tell stories so well, it's like, fuck, I can see it in your mind, right? There's two things I want to define. Sorry, is that clear?
Yeah.
Yeah? Sounds good. So yeah, it's a combination of the two.